that was the old George Wallace. It kind of turned loose a reign of terror on people, and we felt that the only way you ended that reign of terror was to get a political system that was responsive to the citizens of a community. So we went to Selma deliberately, trying to find a mechanism to get our voting rights protected by the federal government.
Selma is the focal point. Selma is the heart of the Black Belt. Selma is a symbol of the resistance to the right to vote. And for that reason, I will have to be here to march with you tomorrow morning in Selma.
We've had in our area here outside agitation groups of all levels. We've had Martin Luther King.
20 years ago, I was a very young white guy, 34 years old, and I was possibly what you would call a redneck that had come from a poor background, and I had fought the white structure, the old South, to get elected. And then all of a sudden, this whole thing hit Selma, the black movement, the Voting Rights Act, and I was thoroughly disgusted with it.
Smitherman was a young mayor then who had very little influence. It was almost as though he'd been elected to kind of give a good image to the city. But the city was really run by Jim Clark.
The Board of Registrars is not in session this afternoon, as you were informed beforehand. You came down to make a mockery out of this courthouse, and we're not going to have it.
Under Alabama law, the sheriff is the highest elected official in a county. He even is higher than our police department. And the governor even had to take a lot of mess off of Clark because it was popular what he was doing in those days.
He symbolized the old plantation slave master. I mean, it was his role and his conviction that you just had to beat some sense into these niggas.
He read the political winds wrong, and he put on a good act. He had a helmet liner like General Patton and a big swagger stick, and he had formed under state law what you called a posse. And they had the riding posse, the walking posse, and they would form around him at the courthouse. And Dr. King and his staff would do everything we told them to march through the city to get to the courthouse to provoke him. It made good news. And it got their demonstrations on the national news every night.
The purpose of our demonstrations was to state the case for the right to vote on camera.
You can turn your back on me, but you cannot turn your back upon the idea of justice. You can turn your back now and you can keep the club in your hand, but you cannot beat down justice. And we will register to vote because as citizens of these United States, we have the right to do it.
Well, Jim Clark lost his temper and beat C.T. Vivian on television. We did not anticipate that, nor did we deliberately provoke it. And of course, it did help our cause. I make no bones about that. Once Wallace and Jim Clark showed on television what they were really doing, they created such a revulsion in the American people that it made it easy for us to get change.